Get ready for candid conversations that embrace the unfiltered truth of our lives. In this space, we celebrate the unity found in our shared human experience. Join me as we explore the depths of our stories, invoking empathy and facilitating the healing we all yearn for. This is Pages of Me podcast, where authenticity is our compass and the unfiltered truth sets us all free. Welcome to Pages of Me podcast. I'm so excited to have Rory Nisan here with us today. So welcome, Rory. And do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump into it all?
Yeah, my pleasure. So Rory Nisan, and I grew up in Burlington, grew up in Brant Hills, and I've been serving as a city councillor for the last 8 years and a deputy mayor for the last 4 years.
Okay, nice. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so I love Burlington. I'm raising a family here and just really invested in Burlington for the long run. It's an amazing community to be in, and just want it to always be amazing for the future for my son, for him to have a great future as well.
I love that.
So I think that's why I'm here, because we're doing election stuff, right?
Yeah. And
So
I have a son as well, so we have that in common.
Okay.
And so today I wanted to it's elections, obviously, but also we want to get to know the person behind the campaign. That's the vibe of Pages of Me podcast, is getting to know the person that we don't necessarily get to see at council meetings or, when they're shaking hands and kissing babies. Who is the person behind all that? What's the intention behind all that?
Sure.
So the first question that I have for you is, so I think our parents, they're our first heroes, right? Our kids look up to us first. They're the first people that we learn from about kindness, resilience, and how to show up in the world. What kind of home did you grow up in, and how does it continue to influence the way that you lead today?
Yeah, I grew up in a really fantastic house. I'm very, very fortunate, and I probably wouldn't be where I am today if I wasn't for that kind of support that I had as a kid. I mean, no situation is perfect, but my parents were both very invested in making sure their kids were raised well. So being in Burlington really also helped, being in a nice family-friendly environment. Both my parents were psychotherapists.
Oh, wow. Free therapy.
My dad specialized in children. And so I definitely being raised slightly differently, but than maybe the average family. But it was a very loving household, and I have no complaints. They let me pursue what I wanted to pursue in life and studies. They didn't push me in one direction or another. They really wanted me to be myself and have the capacity to find my own way in the world, and to be supportive of whatever route I took. And certainly that's taken me to where I am today.
And how do you feel like it's even influencing your leadership style?
Yeah, well, I think part of my leadership style is always geared toward fairness for people. I believe that having a fair society is one of the most important aspects of a good democracy and a good country and a good city. So I'm always looking for that fairness, and to make sure that everyone gets an equal treatment here in our city. That kind of equality, is something that, historically rare. In our current society, it's getting better, but there are still strides to be made for fairness in our world, but in our city as well. I think there are opportunities to make sure that we have a good and fair city that can take care of its people.
Yeah, I agree. And also, sometimes we can focus so much on the problems in life, right? And it's easy, especially as you just said, in our communities, to focus on the problems. But what do you think about Burlington's future that gives you hope? Or what gives you hope for our future? Because we can focus so much on the problems, but what gives us hope for the future?
Absolutely, and I think it is all about the future, and any person who's seeking elected office, or in my case seeking a promotion, should always be thinking about what you can do 10, 20, 30 years down the road. And that's the number one thing for me. What gives me hope for the future is that we have an incredible base to build on.
Okay.
Burlington is an amazing place to live because of decisions that were made in the past. Think of Spencer Smith Park, or Lowville Park, two of the great jewels of our city that people can go to for free and enjoy, and that you can't find in most other municipalities. those were decisions taken. We didn't have to buy that land. Someone had a vision for that land to turn them into park and jewels for our city. And now look at us. Wherever you are, you're within about 15 minutes from either of those parks.
Right, it's true. Yeah,
So-
everything is really close.
Yeah, we have the Royal Botanical Gardens in Bronte Creek Provincial Park, and we have the Niagara Escarpment and Conservation Halton. All of those things are intentional decisions made and funded by elected officials. So we have a strong base to build on. I do believe that we've been off track for a few years now, but that it's not too late for us to really invest in our future and make sure that our boys have an amazing future here in Burlington.
Okay, yeah. And so I guess what do you kind of envision this future looking like with if you were to become mayor? Like, what are your hopes for the city?
Yeah, so the most important thing, it's the baseline of everything we do is fiscal responsibility.
Okay.
Why? Because if you're not spending people's tax dollars efficiently, then you can't spend it on the things that really matter. So if we're spending it entirely on headcount at City Hall or small pet projects or things to placate certain members of our community versus the community at the whole, then you don't have money at the end of the day to invest in things like new parks, to invest in our roads, to make sure that people have the quality of life, making sure that our community centers are not too busy and that people have access to swimming programs and summer camp programs. All of those things are impossible to do if you don't have a fiscal plan that tightens the belts of City Hall. So that we have extra money at the end of the day to spend on the things that matter.
Yeah, to invest back into the community is essentially what
Exactly,
you're saying,
yeah. So, fiscal responsibility doesn't mean cutting programs. It means making sure that the programs that matter are taken care of and that we're not spending frivolously.
Okay. And so just to take it a little bit more back to you now, sometimes the moments that shape us aren't always our biggest accomplishments. When you look back on your life, what challenge has taught you more than any success could?
Yeah, the challenge is, I've had a very fortunate life, 44 years, like we said, being raised well, having opportunities. And the challenges that I faced have largely been around my own goal setting and wanting to do more for the community and for the world. So I went into the Canadian Foreign Service thinking that I was going to change the world by representing Canada internationally and working at the United Nations or NATO, hoping that I would have this big impact. The challenge that I faced was after 11 years in that role. It was an inflection point of whether I would continue on that path, working inside a large machine, or whether I would break out on my own and become more entrepreneurial in the change that I want to make. And if it's more risky, the Foreign Service is a good career. It's like straight 30 years, retirement, pension, But I did come to the conclusion that it was the politicians that really made the difference and that I couldn't make a difference as a mid-level Foreign Service officer. And really, with all respect to my former colleagues, you just can't make a big difference. But you can be part of change, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's a career I would recommend to a lot of people. It's just, for me, I need to be at the forefront of the change that I'm making. And I also came to recognize that change is always best done in your own community. That's where you can be most impactful. Trying to bring change to another country is, next to impossible. And if it's going to be done by anybody, it'll be elected officials.
Yeah.
Politicians, for better or for worse.
Yeah. And so do you feel like, you kind of feel like you like being on the ground? Like you being on ground zero in the community. So how has that even impacted your perspective of how you wanted to serve the community since you've changed from doing the foreign affairs to now being focused on more local municipal level?
Yeah, so at the beginning, I thought that, I would be doing purely very localized issues like speed hump here, no speed hump there, stop signs and things like that. And like everybody, you learn once you get into the role. And I've learned how you can have more of an impact in the job. And now I see how impactful it can be. For example, there was a decision point brought by the mayor to subsidize all growth in the city to help get the tall buildings built faster. It was up to $41 million subsidy. And I had the opportunity to stand up and say no to that. That was a change where, I was the only one really standing up. There's actually Councillor Stolte was there as well. Okay. So it was a 3-2 vote at committee with 2 people absent. And so we stood up in committee and said no, and then we followed up. I followed up with, op-eds and videos explaining a complicated situation around development charges to the community, and explained why this doesn't work. That it would end up on the tax base to fund the new developments after we ourselves had to pay for our own development charges. So, anyways, the point being that I feel that had I not been there and recognized the issue, that would have been approved, and it would have really decreased affordability in the community. Because I was there and because I fought tooth and nail, and I took a lot of pressure from the mayor and from other council members, and there was a lot of battles over it, and some people said that I wasn't being truthful, but I knew that I was. So being able to stick to my guns allowed me to ensure that didn't happen. And in the end, everybody on council unanimously supported my motion to say that we would not do that subsidy unless we had funding from the higher levels of government.
Right, and that makes sense. And do you feel like at that time that you were really being the voice of the people in council? This is what residents were emailing you or calling your office about and saying we don't think this is beneficial, long term for the community, or was just you thinking ahead of how this would impact the residents?
Yeah, initially I was kind of out on my own.
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of resident feedback for it because the motion came very late. It came as an amendment.
Right.
So there wasn't an opportunity for much public input on it. So I had to really pump the brakes and really force that to get slowed down in order to ensure there was enough time. And fortunately, some procedural matters were not done properly, and that gave us the space to build momentum against it. And once people got involved, that's when the issue turned around. Mm-hmm. Until then, it's just me talking. I can do a video any day of the week. But if people don't pick up on it and recognize the issue, then it doesn't go anywhere. So big kudos to residents for recognizing a problem when they saw it and definitely speaking up at the time, and that got us to change the minds of council.
Okay, I love to hear that. And so you did talk about of you sharing and some people saying that you weren't necessarily telling the truth. Politics have a way of creating a public perception of people that aren't always accurate. Mm. What do you feel like is something that people must misunderstand about you the most?
Yeah, okay, let me think about that, because there have been a couple comments recently, so I have to pick.
You don't have to respond to all of them, sure.
Then there was that one guy. So what is something that people don't understand? One of the funny comments that I often hear, criticisms that we all hear as politicians, it's do better.
Do better.
Do better, right? It's a nice way of saying you suck, basically. Do better. It's well, you know what? Actually, everybody is doing their best as they see it, And I certainly am always doing my best for the community. I didn't come on council because I didn't have a job or something. I came to it because I wanted to make that change. And if people don't see that, that's okay. I think the large majority of people do see it. Everybody wants to get their point of view across, and in our current world, perennially online, chronically online world, people have learned certain comments to really cut through.
Yeah.
So good for them. They're welcome to make their comments, but I know that I'm doing my best.
And so that's the one misunderstanding that you'd want to clear up, is that as much as people think that you're not giving your all, you are giving your all, you are doing your best, and you are trying to step up to the role of what is required of city council and eventually, hopefully, mayor.
Yeah, that's right. And I always say that politicians are driven by three things. They're like little bubbles. One is ego, one is interests, and one is values.
Okay.
Now, I try to make my values bubble the biggest.
The biggest, okay.
Right? So, because what you want to do is represent the values of your community and yourself, combine those two together, and that's how you get good leadership. But, of course, invariably, there's an interest bubble, It's different for different people. For those for whom this is a full-time career and otherwise they don't have a big career, then the interest bubble becomes bigger. Unfortunately, I don't have to worry about that because I always have my foreign service career. But that can be a big bubble. And of course, there's other interests too. Like I have an interest in becoming mayor. I have an interest in continuing in politics. Insofar it's a passion and something I really enjoy. So there's another side to interest. And then, of course, there's the ego side. Everybody has an ego, right, according to Sigmund Freud. So we all have our egos.
We do, yes.
But that's something to always be, as an elected official, to be aware of, to not let the ego take over, to try to, sometimes you have to stand away from the situation and look onto it. And recognize that maybe it's your ego talking. And if you can ground yourself in your values on a regular basis, that will also crowd out the ego and to an extent the interests as well. So that's what I aspire to do, and I want residents to know that I'm doing my best based on the values that I grew up with and the values that I carry through my 44 years of life, and also my understanding of what the community wants.
Yeah, I think this is a totally different side of you that I've never seen before. And I think that, this is what Pages of Me podcast is all about. It was like getting to that intention. And the intention is the values of you saying that, grounding yourself in the values so that the ego can kind of like stay to the side. It may be there a little bit, but it's not like running the show.
Well, definitely through any campaign, it's a lot of interests.
Yeah,
right. Because once you get in the zone, you're like, well, how do I get more votes? Right.
Yeah.
You get stuck in that very easily because it's a very binary end. The end is binary, win or lose. Right? Yeah, right. You want to win.
Is, yeah.
Ego wants to win. The interests want to win. The values are a little more agnostic about winning or losing. And so, but if you don't, promote your interests, you're not going to be successful. So it's tough.
Yeah, to find the balance between all three.
To hold your values through a campaign. It's probably one of the hardest things, to make sure you're not deceiving people, or that you are being honest with people, and that you're promoting your values more than your interests through the campaign is very, very hard. I'm always checking myself, like before I put something out into the world, before I put out a video, it's like, okay, and the standard I use is like, would my parents be proud of this, or would they know? Would they say, hey, you didn't promote the values of your family here? So I always filter it through that.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And also, you were talking a little bit about, what were you talking about?
I don't know.
About council and like representing an ego. Do you feel like, this is kind of like off the cusp, but do you feel like right now, because some people have been saying that they've never seen council the way that it is right now. Do you feel like ego has a little bit to play with that, with people running and wanting to have, or some people are saying online that they feel like council members are using like council meetings for potential like sound bites. And so do you feel like the ego is kind of like taking over a little bit right now in council with this pending municipal election coming up, or do you feel like this is the vibe of normally how council is?
Well, I do believe that if you aren't able to manage the ego, which is tough, right? Like it's a human thing, then emotions can take over. Emotions can get very high. The room can get very spicy. So I've seen that happen more lately because stakes are high. The worst. They say the worst part of democracy is the politics. So you don't like the politics, you don't like democracy, right?
Yeah.
It can be the negative side of it, but anyone who's calling out politics in a democratic chamber is just acknowledging reality. Yeah, of course there's going to be politics involved. It's best for us to be pushing our values as much as we can through that. I believe that I always have, and frankly there's people who are getting a little bit desperate and don't like the way conversations are going. If you can't fight on the issues, then you fight on the rules, right? So you say, oh no, this is against the norms or customs, right?
Yeah.
You're playing politics. Well, if someone is playing politics, you should, instead of calling that out, you should show people, right? Show, not tell. Show them that the other person is wrong about that issue. If you can't, then the claim is just a claim. It's unfounded.
Yes.
I believe a lot of those claims have been entirely unfounded. I was asking some tough questions in committee, And then debate got closed on me, and then I was told that I was playing politics. Well, if you're talking about whether it's, last-minute motions or attempts to crack down on cricket or reduce construction hours without taking into account the economic consequences, I got questions.
Yes.
I got lots of questions about that. And it's my democratic right to ask those questions. So if people want to shut down the debate, that's okay. I'll take it outside the chamber. But debate is a really important part of it. So calling people out for, playing politics, I think, is something you do when you're losing, actually.
Okay.
They're losing the debate, so they're calling out the rules of the debate.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting to perspective.
But yeah, it's definitely heated, and these aren't my motions that I'm bringing forward. It's other people's motions, and it's my job to represent my constituents by asking tough questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you feel like your constituents are like grateful and thankful that like you're pushing hard and asking those tough questions, because they're the questions that, I was thinking it, you said it. Is it like that kind of a vibe?
Residents are not watching every council meeting, right?
They're 8 hours long.
They have other things going on. Yeah, believe it or not.
We don't have our full-time jobs
and
to watch.
And isn't that exactly why they elected me to represent them there? So I'm doing it, and I'm explaining it to the community. And yes, the feedback has been positive about me holding the mayor's feet to the fire on her motions, for example. So, the results kind of speak for themselves. I've been able to stop things like the development charges and other things. I've been able to change the tenor of the debate so that we aren't making mistakes. But yes, I do feel there have been a lot of, when you talk about politicking, I think there's been a lot of emotions that have come out that serve the narrow interests of a few rather than the city as a whole. Yeah,
and I think that's super important, because it's like whose voice is being heard and whose perspective is being taken into consideration, and is it inclusive? Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Is it inclusive? Have all the stakeholders been taken into account? And having taken them into account, the next step is to do what's best for the city as a whole. Right?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so my last question is, if your life were a book, what chapter do you feel like you're writing right now? What's your era? What era are you in right now?
Oh, my God. I'm not a Swiftie.
You don't need to be a Swiftie to be in an era.
See, yeah. No, you're right. I don't know. That's a good question. I am solidly in my middle life now. So if it's a trilogy, I'm in the second book. I think I'm at the beginning of the second book.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
And what are your hopes? What are you thinking like the plot is going to look like in this book?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there'll be some twists. There have been plenty already. But, my goal is to continue to make a difference in the world. So the narrative of this book is about a person trying to help others. And we'll see if I'm successful or not. But life is a process, right? I'm more attached to the process, and you're going to have your successes and failures. But if I'm doing my best, then I'm happy, and it'll have a happy ending.
Sounds good. Any last words that you want to put out there?
No, I just want to thank you for getting to the bottom of all of us as candidates and getting this a little bit more personal and a little bit more out of the council chamber. It's really nice. Thanks, Kizzy.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to having these conversations, getting to know people behind the campaigns, because I think that that's what people want to know. Like, they're like, okay, we hear about traffic, we hear about affordable housing, but like, who's the person asking for my vote?
You're right. In the end, you're electing people. You're not electing policies.
Exactly.
You're electing a person who's going to make a myriad of decisions on your behalf, not just about the hot button issues.
Exactly.
So that's why people often vote based on the person.
And what would you say to Burlington residents that maybe like don't know that much about you? Like, who is Rory, and like behind the campaign, who are you as a person, and why do they deserve to consider to vote for you as mayor?
Yeah, so I do put my heart on my sleeve. So what you see on the flyer is actually what I am all about as a person. Fiscal responsibility, so that we can afford to have a great quality of life here in Burlington. So if we can get our house in order fiscally, then I know that we can build a future for Burlington that will continue to be the envy of the entire country. So I think it's a very important election for people to decide whether they're happy with sort of a status quo where we're stuck in neutral, versus getting back into gear and building that future-ready community. So it's all about the next generation.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, for our kids, for our boys.
Yeah, and like I think whatever age group you are, you're going to care about that, and having we're enjoying the decisions that have been made in the past now. So let's make great decisions for the future and leave no one behind. I don't want to leave any seniors behind where they can't afford to live in Burlington. I don't want young families to be unable to purchase a home, and I want to get young people able to get out of their homes with rent they can afford, and eventually into a house as well. All that happens through having a fiscally responsible city that keeps taxes from getting too high so that people can afford, whether it's their gas, their groceries, or afford their tax bill or afford their rent, because the higher the tax bill, the higher the rents.
Yes.
So that's what I'm all about, Kezia.
Yeah,
let's get there.
Good. I'm a rent payer right now. I do not own in Burlington. I've been living here for 13 years. I've been renting.
Yeah.
It's too expensive for me.
And as a renter who's considering buying, and that was us just a few years ago as well, the amount of taxes goes towards sort of your debt load. But for people like yourself, that's for the average renter who would like to own. Increasing supply is the only way to do it. So you'll hear a lot of governments not address that. A lot of politicians will not address that because it's the hard part.
Yeah, it is.
And there's a lot of people who don't want it in
the
their
sticky
backyard.
part. Yeah, it's the
right?
sticky part, and it's sometimes people don't really want to acknowledge like the current status that we're in. Like we just like to pretend like everyone's good, everyone's we're all living in Burlington, we're all here together, everyone must be good, and it's like sometimes it's not always as it appears. And how do we consider everybody and not just think about like that this person's good because like they look good and maybe they work for the news, so they should be fine whole time.
Yeah, at the grocery store they look fine.
Yeah, right. The whole time it's
okay.
like it's a struggle, right? So It's just like making sure that we keep into consideration. Actually, I lied. I said that was my last question, but I did have one more question.
Yeah, whatever. I got time.
Okay. So last year, Black Business Month proclamation happened at City Hall. We saw it as an important step stepping forward towards recognizing Black-owned businesses and entrepreneurs in the city. As someone running for mayor, what are your thoughts on the importance of proclamations like this, going beyond symbolic recognition? What role do you think the city should play in celebrating and supporting Black-owned businesses and Burlington's diverse communities year-round?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in many ways to answer it, and many questions in the question.
Yes.
But I'll do my best. So, number one, diversity in our community has had great net positives for Burlington. As you know, Burlington is still a very white Anglo-Saxon Protestant community, but it is diversifying over time, and I 100% welcome it. I think it really improves the cultural fabric in Burlington. And we've seen in Burlington as kind of a model for diversity and integration as well, where we're largely able to get along with our neighbors. That's not perfect, like don't get me wrong. There's always room for improvement. In terms of supporting businesses, proclamations are always nice, but they don't change things. Right? They're very short lasting. They're an expression of commitment. They're not changing in and of themselves. Mm-hmm. So one way we can support it is through our Economic Development Corporation, is to ensure that they're taking equity issues into account, including for Black businesses. Same thing through the Chamber of Commerce. I wonder if is there anything we can do through the Chamber of Commerce to support Black-owned businesses and other equity-seeking groups, so that they have all the opportunities. Because the thing about business is it's a network.
Yes.
Networks support those who have them, who have those deep networks, and it's very sort of backwards-looking networks. Who do you know? Who did your parents know? Things like that.
And that's the thing, is that for people that are new moving to Burlington, their networks are not going to be as deep and as far-reaching,
and tend to come from diverse communities who are coming into our city. So it's a great point you're raising, and I don't know if you know Terry about or what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean I've reached out. I think that this is it's going to take like leaders of Burlington to be like, this is an important issue, this is an important matter. Because a lot of times when I hear people talk about businesses, it's always like the 1% of businesses that are just so successful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the Pearl and like, you know,
Sure.
and like those kind of places. And we forget about the little mom and pop shops, the businesses where they don't have hired staff. They literally are just like a wife and like a cousin and a husband, all there working, running all the hours because that's what they can sustain. This is just like their family income, their family business. Just kind of remembering those businesses. And, you know, there are, when we did the Black Business Proclamation, the businesses were so happy because they've been like, we've been here for over 10 years in Burlington, and no one knows that we're here. No one has acknowledged that we're here. And they also are stimulating the economic in Burlington, right? Because people are coming out of their way. Let's say they're coming from Oakville or Milton because there's no black hair store in Oakville and Milton, so they got to come to downtown Burlington to Angels to buy that braiding hair or to buy the gel that they need or the curling serum. They need to get it there. There's no other Jamaican food restaurants in Oakville, in Burlington, other than just jerk. So all the construction workers that want to get that jerk chicken, want to get that oxtail, want to get that saltfish, you know, right? They have to go there. And so it's like people are coming to these little mini cultural hubs, but the actual city is not acknowledging that we have these cultural hubs here.
Well, they should absolutely be celebrated, and we can support them by getting the word out for sure. Making sure that anybody who hasn't tried jerk chicken gets in there, because you know there's obviously coming from the cultural communities, but there's also people who would welcome to come in and try something new.
Yes,
you know, and Burlington loves to eat. Burlington loves to drink.
Yes.
And Burlington loves ice cream. So those are the three things.
We do.
So yeah, I'm with you here. And if you have any other ideas, like let's bring them forward together. But proclamations are great. Some practical action, I think, is probably what's warranted, and would love to work with through the chamber on how we can support that. I've become a member of the chamber. I used to attend events as a counselor, but now as a campaign, we're able to join as a non-for-profit. So I have a voice in the chamber that I would be happy to bring forward.
Love that. Thank you so much. And I think,
stay in touch.
Yes, let's stay in touch. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, that's all my questions. I'm for real done now.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Pages of Me podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with someone who would enjoy it. Remember, every person has a story beyond the headlines, beyond the titles, beyond what people see on the surface. On Pages of Me podcast, we're turning those pages one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Kezia. Thank you for spending this time with me. And until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep discovering the stories that connect us. Take care.